EFC is Canada's National Association of Evangelical Christians. Since 1964, the EFC has provided a forum for evangelicals and has been recognized as a constructive voice promoting practical application of biblical principles in life and society. The EFC's 40 denominational affiliates have over 3,000 congregations in Ontario alone. As evangelical Christians, we are called upon by Jesus Christ to love our neighbors as humans, and despite our best intentions, we often do so imperfectly. While in every Ontario community, whether religious or cultural, there are individuals who hold extreme views, the overwhelming majority of Ontario's evangelical Christians participate in society in a positive way, which reflects this core tenet of Christian faith, that we love our neighbors. We actively participate in the democratic process. We vote and have volunteered on campaigns for each of the parties represented in Ontario's legislature. Contrary to some expressed opinion, Canadian evangelicals cast our votes in similar patterns as the general population. You'll see that in tab D of our presentation. However, as evangelicals engaged in the province-wide dialogue on anti-bullying legislation, we have frequently been ostracized in a manner intended to exclude our thoughts from the discussion. By trivializing and ridiculing our sincerely and constitutionally guaranteed religious beliefs, evangelicals were accused of being quote-unquote homophobic. The word homophobia, while not yet defined in law, is defined by the Oxford Dictionary as an extreme and irrational aversion to homosexuality and homosexual people. The term suggests a psychological disorder in the person or organization so labeled, and is used to generate fear and to bully those it is directed against into silence. This label has become the contemporary slur of the 21st century, intended to silence the voices of those in our free democratic society who might disagree with the public policy agenda of a select group of activists. This slur is intended as an insult directed at the very nature and character of the person or organization that dares to disagree. It has no place in public discourse, public dialogue, or public debate, and certainly no place in the legislatures, public squares, or public schools of our province or our nation. Evangelicals do not have a fear or irrational aversion towards gays and lesbians. We do at times find ourselves in disagreement with the public policy positions expressed by activists in the gay community, as they at times disagree with ours. The Supreme Court of Canada has affirmed on more than one occasion that the religiously informed are not to be placed at public disadvantage or disqualified from engaging in public policy debate. Most particularly, the court has said this in several cases in regard to education and education policy. As Justice Gonche noted in his decision, supported by the full court in Chamberlain, the key is that people will disagree about important issues, and such disagreement, where it does not imperil community living, must be capable of being accommodated at the core of modern pluralism. We believe that every child is made in God's image, of inestimable worth, and deserving of dignity and respect. No child should be bullied, marginalized, or suffer discrimination. All children have a right to learn, grow, and flourish in environments that are safe, welcoming, and instructive. And we agree with the Supreme Court of Canada's decision in Ross that these qualities should be present in the schools they attend. While Ontario has taken positive action to address bullying in our schools with the Keeping Our Kids Safe at School Act and Policy Memorandum 144 on bullying, the EFC supports additional initiatives to promote respect for diversity and prevent bullying in Ontario schools that are in the best interests of all children. Bill 13, as it is currently written, is not that initiative. Bill 13 demonstrates that its drafters have been distracted from a focus on diversity and preventing bullying based on all grounds of discrimination stated in the code, and distracted from the main reasons students are being bullied by a genuine concern about the bullying of gay and lesbian students. Such concern for a particular community is a distraction from the necessary concern for all Ontario students, because it singles out certain students as deserving of greater protection. While the evangelical community has a particular concern about bullying that takes place in Ontario schools because of students, their parents, or teachers' religious beliefs, we also believe it would be a mistake for the Ministry of Education to focus only on anti-religious discrimination and bullying, or identify special status mandatory clubs to deal with anti-religious bullying, because such a focus would distract from the need to address bullying prevention for all students. The EFC has produced a report by the numbers, rates and risk factors for bullying that you'll find in tab D, because we are convinced that when legislators determine that statistics are important for the development of legislation, those statistics should be drawn from studies that are representative of the population and have a sample size that is robust enough to be statistically meaningful. Following sound sociological protocol, survey questions should arise out of face-to-face interviews with, in this instance, a cross-section of students who are representative of Ontario students as a whole. Through these interviews, the issues are identified. Wider surveys then formulate questions that are statistically verifiable and quantify the prevalence of the issues already identified. Legislators may be tempted to rely on quote-unquote junk statistics from surveys prepared by special interest groups with questions designed to furnish statistics that support their prior commitments. These surveys do not represent the issues or the population well, and if relied on, are a core basis for public policy. While Ontarians might think from media coverage and certain statements made at Queen's Park that children are most often bullied for reasons relating to sexual orientation or gender identity, the Toronto District School Board's 2006 student census notes that students are actually most frequently bullied both in traditional forms of aggression as well as through cyberbullying for three primary reasons: body image or appearance, school grades or marks, and cultural background or race. Sound decisions need to be based on sound data. While specific recommendations for amendments to Bill 13 are not heavily detailed in this verbal submission, they have been noted in our earlier written submissions, which also have been provided in our book. Bill 13 is fraught with legal problems, and if not amended, will likely generate legal challenges that will result in expenditures of taxpayer dollars on legal fees as the challenges may be through the courts, with a likely destination of the Supreme Court of Canada some 5 to 7 years down the line because of the constitutional issues that are involved. The approach adopted by Bill 13 lacks sensitivity, flexibility, and the full consideration of proper application of the Constitution Act 1867, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and the Ontario Human Rights Code. From a legal and public policy perspective, Bill 14 is better drafted. We urge the committee to adopt Bill 14 as Ontario's next anti-bullying measure. Alternatively, if Bill 13 is adopted, we highlight at this time these essential amendments. 1. Amend the definition of bullying in Section 1 to remove ambiguous language that may capture behaviors that are not bullying behaviors or are expression protected by the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This is further explained in our written submissions. Another option would be to simply adopt the definition of bullying that is found in Bill 14. 2. Bill 13 identifies 4 groups that will receive board-endorsed special status. These categories do not reflect the data on bullying in Canada in terms of students most often targeted for bullying behaviors. This selectivity communicates to Ontario students that some students are receiving preferential treatment, or those students' suffering is more valid than the suffering of others. Section 9 should simply require boards to support equity or anti-bullying clubs as determined in each school community. Another option would be to simply remove Section 9. In this regard, we are particularly mindful of the constitutionally assured religious schools in Ontario. While these schools are often referred to as publicly funded, they are in fact funded by decision of Ontario taxpayers in accordance with constitutional principles and in a manner that neither compromises public schools nor removes funds from the public purse that would be used for another purpose. While the collection of these funds is publicly administered, it is a mistake to note that these are public funds. The Catholic or separate school systems of religious freedom is constitutionally guaranteed and deserving of legal and legislative respect. We endorse the proposal made by the Ontario Catholic School Trustees Association, those legally responsible for the education delivered in the Catholic system, in their document respecting difference. 3. 2 of the proposed amendments to the Education Act risk restricting community access to school facilities. Presently, countless Ontarians meet together for prayer, worship, and community service in rented school facilities. They are seeking and using space in which they can practice their charter-protected right to religious worship and expression. Schools are both a convenient place to meet and funded by their taxpayer dollars. Section 7 should be removed. As a courtesy, the EFC was provided with a copy of the submission made by the Coalition for Parental Rights in Education, and we are substantially in agreement with the content of that submission. The EFC is grateful for this opportunity to present, and will pray for wisdom for the members of this committee in your deliberations. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We have about 2 minutes left. Charles?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Thank you for attending. Just a couple of questions. Are you aware of the number of gay students in Ontario who are bullied in school and have committed suicide? Are you aware of that statistic?
We have commented on that in our presentation. We're aware that across Canada, in 2008, Statistics Canada reports that approximately, well, it says 233 students between the ages of 10 and 18 were bullied, and 8 of the students committed suicide, rather, 233 committed suicide, and 8 of those 233 can be identified as gay or lesbian.
And part B of that question is the number of students who have, as I described earlier, who have considered suicide in a school context.
I'm not aware of the number who have considered
Thank you.
suicide.
And second, could you identify in the ministry's code of conduct regarding the use of school space where problems you identified would occur? You refer to the policy document, and I just want to understand that you're concerned about use of school space and why you feel that it would impact future use.
That reference is to Section 7 of Bill 13.
Are you familiar with the school code of conduct? Is there anything in there specifically that would be problematic?
There's not anything that's currently there that has shown itself to be problematic.
Thank you. More questions?
Thank you very much, and thank you